Hello friends, it's Astro here and welcome back to the Test Prison, which is where we do all of our tutorials and muck about with things that we want to muck about with. Today, I've created a new dodgy little wing on the top of the prison up here, which I'd like to use to experiment with needs. So all prisoners have needs, and we can get into the needs screen here, and we can see each of these listed out. So bladder, bowels, sleep, food, etc. And we need to keep these needs under control. We need to make sure that these prisoners aren't going to get, over the top. So, I mean, this guy has a few needs, and he's not satisfying any of them, but he is working at the moment. So, he'll go and do things shortly. Seagab here, he's suppressed at the moment, so he's okay. But he does need some privacy, freedom, spirituality, and that sort of thing. So, with that in mind, let's have a look at what objects we have and what they can do for us. So we're going to go into the debug menu here, and we're going to turn on need providers. And we may as well turn on stats as well. So, stats for this chap, this gives us a really good overview of what this guy's needs actually are instead of the pluses that are in the standard menu. And we can see each of those needs as a nice graphed bar. And the objects that I've placed in these cells show us what these objects actually can satisfy. So a bed can provide sleep via the sleep activity, but that's only available at nighttime during sleep. At the moment it's not nighttime, so this object won't provide any sleep for the prisoners. It can also provide comfort via relax. Essentially the prisoner can sort of lounge about on their bed and refill their comfort bar and feel a bit better that way. And we've actually got a piece of clothing here, the prisoner uniform, which provides the clothing need via changing clothes. That's provided via the laundry, and at the moment it's sitting there waiting for the prisoner who lives in this cell to come and get changed when they need to. The other objects that I've got placed around in here is a shower head, which provides hygiene via wash. The drain doesn't actually provide anything at all, but it's handy so that your prisoners' cells don't get flooded. The toilet provides bowels via a poo and bladder via a wee. It can also be used by staff when it's placed in a staff accessible area, like a staff room, and that's going to be useful when you have staff needs turned on, which I don't currently have. The other objects that I have in this cell that I usually put into a cell are a bookshelf and a window, but these don't actually satisfy any needs on their own. They do, however, add to the quality of a cell, but we won't be going into cell quality in this session. We'll do that in a subsequent video. So that's your standard cell and the standard things that you would put into a cell. In a dormitory, you would have the same objects, but you would also have a bed here, a bunk bed. So the bunk bed, while it does, and it's hard to see because there's clothes in the way, so while it does provide 2 slots for sleep via the 2 prisoners crashing in each of the levels of the bunk bed, it doesn't actually provide a comfort satisfier the same way that a normal bed does. So that's one thing to bear in mind when you are building a dormitory style prison. You're going to need to have some chairs or similar seating apparatus set up so that your prisoners can have somewhere to sit and refill their comfort bar. Moving across into the kitchen, there's nothing that provides any satisfaction for your prisoners' needs in here, but it does provide food for your prisoners. So the serving table, which just changed from blue to red because eat time just finished, provides food via get meal. So during eat time, this will flip to blue. Your prisoners will wander over and they will grab a food tray from the stack and then grab food off the serving table. When they go over to the table and sit down, they'll start eating that food to satisfy their food needs, but they'll also get some comfort out of sitting on a bench or a chair if you've set up chairs around your tables in your canteen. The table itself doesn't actually provide anything other than a place for people to put their trays. Out in the yard, this is where people are going to satisfy their exercise needs. So we've got a weights bench here, which people can use to lift weights to get their exercise. And there's also this floating object called exercise.exercise. It moves around the yard, which I think must be so that the prisoners can sort of mill about and not basically just stand in one place. And it's, they'll just sort of do a run around the prison yard to get their exercise if there aren't enough weights benches available. The phone booth provides the family need via the phone home mechanic. Prisoners will come up, make a phone call, chat to their family, feel a bit better about themselves, and excellent. Works out nicely. Carrying on into the common room. We actually have 2 common rooms here. We've got some couches set up at the top of this one where people can get some comfort, and staff can use those for comfort as well via sitting. The same as a bench or a chair. Really, there's not much difference between them that I have seen, though there may be a little bit of a difference in how quickly they regenerate. I haven't been able to verify that just yet. Recreation is the main need that the common room satisfies, and it does that via the pool table, so you can play pool to get some recreation satisfaction, or you can use one of these objects. So we've got in here an arcade cabinet, which this guy has very nicely just come and used to show us what that does. We've got a radio, which seems to be more of it doesn't need to be used. It just provides recreation by being in the same area as a prisoner. So placing one of these into an open area will slowly keep everyone's recreation under control, which is great. The TV and the large TV, you'll notice they have an area of effect. So in this case, the TV has a 3x3 area of effect, and the large TV has basically a 7x7, but it's kind of 7.5 or 6.5 by 6.5. So it goes out to the edge of this wall here. And essentially, when you've got a TV set up like this, the prisoners can sit on a chair where they will receive comfort and get watch TV recreation lined up. So that's really handy to know. Yeah, all of these chairs, because they're in the bloom of a television, they will get comfort and recreation at the same time, which is very handy. The drinks machine, which I've popped in here just for reference, that doesn't do anything either. It's a requirement for a staff room, but placing it into a room doesn't actually satisfy anyone's needs. Coming down into the mail room, there's nothing in here that actually satisfies anyone's needs, but it does provide mail, which then satisfies the family need, although the objects themselves aren't flagged, so I'm not quite sure what the mechanic is behind mail satisfying people's needs, but I'm yet to figure that one out exactly. There's a dead guy trapped in the wall here. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but this is a test prison, so things like this do occur. In the library shelf provides literacy via the get book mechanic, so prisoners can come in and get a book to fill up their literacy requirements. Aside from that, there's a sorting desk which helps you put books into the shelf, but it doesn't have any. It doesn't satisfy anything either. Again, we've got our bookshelf here, which doesn't do anything. It's really just to boost the quality of a room. Moving across into parole, we have a chap here who is getting paroled at the moment. He doesn't get anything out of this. This is just an activity that prisoners can partake in, and if their grading is good enough, so 4%, that's within the parole limit, this guy's probably going to get released by the parole officer and lawyer here, which is excellent. Good work, Rottefelle. And in the shop, the objects in the shop are luxury items, so they help to satisfy the luxury need, but not via the items themselves. That comes through from the shop front. When one of these guys mans the shop front and someone comes up to buy something, they will then satisfy that luxury's need. So here we go. This guy's now got a bottle of shampoo or something to that effect, and his luxury need has been satisfied. Finally, in the workshop, there's nothing that really helps us out here, although these guys will perform work while they're in there. Same goes for the laundry. This doesn't satisfy any needs. It does keep people occupied and doing things, but it has the benefit of producing prisoner uniforms, which then get distributed to prisoners' cells so that they can get changed into fresh clothing and satisfy their clothing need. The visitation room doesn't actually provide like a bloom on the room itself, but the activity of being in visitation. So you saw there a moment ago, Warren was in visitation, and that means that he is fully satisfying in one hit his family needs. Finally, there's the chapel, and there's two ways that guys can replenish their needs in here. One is by just, using the mats and the pews. The other is when someone is running a sermon, the guys will be in a special mode, and they will very rapidly top up their spirituality needs. And then finally, if we were to produce a cell that satisfies all of a prisoner's needs, it'd probably look a little something like this. There are some things that this cell won't be able to provide, though, and that's things like freedom, literacy. It doesn't seem that we can provide that this way, and food. I've experimented with trying to lock prisoners into their cells, but I haven't been able to provide... essentially placing a prisoner onto permanent lockdown will be fine. They'll have food brought to them, but then their freedom requirements start to build, and it becomes a bit of a balancing act around getting them access to food versus getting them access to freedom. Those two things are very difficult to balance out. So having an all-in-one cell is an experiment that I'm still playing with, but it's something that I'd like to see if I can achieve. If you've figured out how to have an all-in-one cell that satisfies everything, do please let me know in the comments below, and we can experiment with that one together. But there you go, guys. That is prisoner requirements and prisoner needs via objects in the game. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.